Muchas gracias a todos por estar aquí. Yo me llamo Pere Rusiñol, soy periodista de la revista Alternativas Económicas. Voy a hacer un poco de introductor y de presentador, de moderador del acto. Un acto que, como sabéis, por primera vez se presenta en España, el informe sobre las finanzas éticas en Europa, un documento muy importante para el conjunto del sector, también para el sector de las finanzas éticas, porque ayuda a poner realmente en relación un sector sano y útil para la gente con lo que pasa en el sector oficial. Y hoy vamos a estar aquí para presentar el séptimo informe, que se elabora también con criterios académicos y con gran calidad. Tenemos un par de horas más o menos de acto. Ojalá, ya empezamos un poco tarde, ojalá vayamos cumpliendo con todos los plazos. Primero haremos una pequeña ronda inicial institucional en la que también se nos presentará las conclusiones principales del informe. Luego tendremos una mesa redonda en la que no solamente el sector estricto de las finanzas éticas, sino más amplio, podremos debatir sobre la situación en que nos encontramos a raíz precisamente de la presentación del informe. Y finalmente habrá los discursos de despedida y, como sabéis, acabaremos todos compartiendo un poco de un ambiente más social. Creo que es en la cuarta planta, luego ya nos lo informarán. Así que con todos ustedes les presento a la primera ponente, que es Arola Farré.
Introduce the first speaker, Arola Farré, ethical finance advisor. Thank you, Arola. Thanks a lot. Dear Mr. Jaime Iglesias, Special Commissioner for Ethical Finance, Ana Fasano, President of Banca, Ética, Jordi Ibáñez, Rector of the Finanzas, Éticas Foundation, dear Gelsomina, Vigliotti, Vice President of the European Bank of Investment, Antonio Pedreño, President of Social Economic Europe and CEPES, Martin Rohner, President of the Global Alliance for Banking on Values, Pere Sasia, President of the European Federation of Ethical and Alternative Banks, dear Carlos Asunce, President of Finanzas Éticas Foundation, welcome. Thank you to all of you for being here today. In this presentation of the seventh report on ethical finance in Europe, this welcoming and acknowledgement on behalf of the whole board of Banca Ética. It's such a joy and an honor to open this presentation doing in the framework of the 10th anniversary of Fiare, Banca Ética in Spain, and the 25th anniversary of Banca Ética in Italy. So many years working for ethical finance is such a joy and a pride, because ethical finance talk about the common good. Year after year, we see how numbers are increasing and hence the common good. In a period in which in so many places we see the tendency to closing borders, the protectionism of your own taking financial measures without ethical consequences, ethical finance stubbornly show another way in which the collaboration of everybody is absolutely necessary. It is a path where everybody is important. Each organization, group, firm, political party can and must contribute to the common good. The logic of ethical finance is about this: participation, the common good, transparency, democratization of the economy. This way of doing things is not a dream, it's a reality. The 10 years of Fiare Banca Ética and the 25th of Banca Ética in Italy shows that this is a solid, real project with a long path ahead. This is also about the specific people please let me thank here to all workers of Fiare Banca Etica for their work, great work every day, doing the best for this bank to become a reality. Without them, our words and dreams would be just that, just beautiful words and dreams without any specific reality. Thank you to all of you. It's absolutely necessary to show that finance can and should be ethical. This is a very specific way of doing it. I'm going to end up thanking the networking work of all organizations, GABV, FEBEA, FEBES, the trust on us by the BEI and the Special Commissioner for the Economy. So many organizations, I cannot name all of them. Thank you to all of you for being here. Our acknowledgement and thanks to Finanzas, Éticas, Associazione Banca Etica for this anniversary. Thanks a lot, Arola. Without more, the floor is to Jaime Iglesias, new Commissioner for Social Economy of the Spanish government. Thank you. Thank you, Pere, Arola, Jordi, Presidents of Banca Etica, FEBEA, Fundación, Finanzas, Éticas and Social Economy Europe, and CEPES, Vice President of the BEI, responsible for the Global Alliances for Banking on Values. Colleagues, thank you for counting on the Ministry of Economy and Social Issues. We're delighted of being here and supporting your work. We want also congratulate Fiare Banca Etica for the 10th anniversary in Spain, and profiting from Juan Antonio Pedreño presence, I want to mention the strong dialogue we have with the social economy sector and the president of CEPES. In the last 20 years, ethical finance have been able to have a important position in the European financial system, proving that the ethical banking and finance can show services with a strong ethical commitment against speculation. On our behalf, we're gonna focus on the parts of the seventh report that have struck our attention. We want to highlight the important contribution of the ethical banking to this sector of social economy. This sector not only generates economic value, but also environmental and social impact. Contrary to traditional banking, the destination of ethical banking financing is social economy, contributing hence to models of development supporting the common good. It shows that ethical banking can be as stable, reliable, and profitable as traditional banking. This presentation shows the increasing acknowledgement and self-affirmation of the ethical banking international. This is no chance. This importance is the result of the continuous advocacy of the sector and the commitment of governments like ours that had no doubt about supporting this agenda internationally. We saw this with the first resolution of the UN in 2023, with the first recommendation of the European Union Council in 23, with the manifesto of San Sebastian, and last night with the adoption of the second resolution of the General Assembly of the UN about social and solidarity economy. This is a highlight for us as a government, and this consolidates the tendency of, on the basis of the Spanish government initiative, the UN debates and adopts a resolution about the social and solidarity economy. The second part of the report is the need for continuous financing and credit for the social economy sector that deserves so much this support. The basis of ethical finance with the social economy is based on credit, meeting all its needs. You may know that our government has share this reflection about the social economy sector, approving the only PERTE about social economy with some 2,500 millions. That is in almost full implementation. We want both private and public finance to work together for the development of social economy so we can build collectively for more fair and equal societies. We still need these ethical instruments for the European Union. We must follow this path during this European term with the implementation of the European Commission program, the recommendations about sustainable hiring, state aid, and the consolidation of social economy as a fundamental ecosystem of European industrial strategy. Last but not least, for the Ministry of Labor of Social Economy, we share the peaceful approach of the report in order to break taboos and advance, and this advance towards military production funding. We salute the commitment of not investing in the sector. This led us to see that there are different models, and also banking can be neutral or not. In this case, they are clearly oriented to a specific social model, and in a situation of uncertainty, we must offer solutions and alternative imaginaries. As a conclusion, promoting ethical funding is a way of working for organizations that work for the well-being of our societies, and this is the future of the European Union, people, and the planet. And together, we can have this sector always improving, increasing. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Jaime. The Commissioner has already advanced some of the conclusions of the report. Now, it's about numbers and the nitty-gritty of this report. For journalists, this is full of very interesting data. So, Jordi Ibáñez, Director of the Finanzas Éticas Foundation, will introduce the report. Thank you, Jordi. So, thank you, Pere. It's such a pleasure and an honor to introduce this report. As you know, it's the 7th report, so we have been 7 years working on this report. And moreover, it's a report shared not just by the Banca Ética group, but also together with the European Federation of Ethical and Alternative Banks, and from the very onset with the collaboration of the Global Alliance for Banking on Values. And in this issue, specifically, we also count on the collaboration of Social Economy Europe and the Italian Research Center, Eutics. We're inaugurating a collaboration that will last for 2 new issues, specifically focusing on the relationship between ethical banking and social economy. One of the first images highlighted by this report is the asset volume and all the activity of ethical banks in Europe. They are in a healthy condition. Today we have overcome some 60 billion euros on impact economy and social economy. Is quite a meaningful number, but as a percentage as well, if we see the total of deposits from the public, they overcome as well the 60 million euros. So we are directing all savings into social and impact firms. Investment, as Arola was saying, the sector is in a very healthy condition. It keeps on growing across Europe. The Global Alliance is located in all continents in Europe, but if we look to Europe, we see also ethical banking activity in countries like Belgium, Denmark, France, Germany, in all directions. So the presence of ethical finance is quite strong. In this report, we focus specifically on the quantitative part in the first chapter. I'm going to go into detail now. We focus only specifically on those financial firms, but with banking entitlement. We have all kinds of institutions, intermediaries that are into ethical finance, but for this first part of the report, we'll see later, they are not represented because we want to do a comparative analysis of both ethical banking and traditional banking. So we've done specific selections of the partners of global alliances and FEBEA that are registered here. In this first part of the report, we highlight 3 arguments that have been repeated from the very beginning of the writing of these reports. We see, and this is reflected not only in the movement of ethical finance, always more surveys show that ethical banking ensures more economic efficiency, and this is seen in the social economy and other sectors. We say this with evidence. If we look at the profitability of the assets since 2013, 2014, we see virtually this profitability by asset is larger than the average profitability of systemic banks. We see in some periods, mostly in this last phase, if we look at the accumulation, if we look at this final number, the ROA by asset is 3% larger than or higher than traditional banking. If we look back at the first report in 2017 with data since 2016, we see this is a constant trend in time. At that very period, also, the average profitability was higher, 3% higher. This also is coherent with the data by the Global Alliance on Banking on Values. So we are more profitable, and to data reaffirm the merit of this. As you know, since we are also about credit management in the real economy, we have operational costs that are higher than traditional banking. We have more operational costs, but profitability eventually is higher. This is the result of our specialization into the social economy, which has a harder operational cost. Another data that highlights this profitability is the risk lending, also our lending portfolio. According to the current law, we are lending in situations of higher risk for firms that are have provision load which is higher. We also have a little differential in risky credits. In spite of this, we still have a better final result. We've done an analysis about risky credits, except for the two Greek ethical banks. We know that they have had in the last years a higher crisis. The average of risky credits is similar to traditional banking. So this is a double merit about it. The second argument
is that we also have ethics and, of course, soundness of the system and of the assets. So we have the commitment of supporting this risk with our partners, and our profits are higher than traditional banking. And as it is obvious, our investors, our partners, are partners that are committed with the cause of ethical finances, and of course we don't have the same capacity as traditional banks to acquiring traditional financing. Therefore, our difficulties are higher to have a new capitals, new assets, new investments, but our tier is higher. Therefore, we can say that ethics is an interesting point of investment. And also, this tier number one is higher due to the reinvestment that we do when we collect our dividends and our profits. We reinvest them in social and ethical projects. And argument number three, ethics drive to bring back the value of finance intermediation. This means that our reason to exist is having a social economy and to also help impact companies and firms. How do we say this? Well, we can say that all the credits that we address to the whole of the assets that we have ethical banking, it's higher. We're talking about 68% of our assets that are linked to credits, since the rest of the business, the sector, mainly regarding systemic banks, is only 51%. So difference is huge, and we are addressing more assets to ethical banking and ethical finances than they do. The second part of the report comes at a moment that, as we all know, investment in weapons is higher over the world due to the different conflicts that are rising. And unfortunately, it might increase also in the future, but as all of the projects of ethical finances, financing for peace building and peace maintenance is one of our very reasons to exist. And the main activity that we do in this sector is linked to credit lending. We are financing projects and firms that are working towards peace building, fight against poverty, against inequalities. This is the main part of our commitment towards peace building. But it wouldn't make any sense to do this if in our portfolio we had some participations in companies from the weapon or the arms sector. So from the very beginning of our commitments, we of course invest and finance peace building projects, but of course we are excluding any kind of investment related to the weapon sector. And we are also doing this currently, where we're in an era in which we have every day more and more investments in weapons all over the world due to the current situation. And also, if you have a look at all the bank traditions, some of them do not have exclusion dispensations, and if they do, they only have it towards controversial weapons. But from us, we are excluding any investment at all in any kind of weapons at all. And as a result of these government systems that are more participative and our partners are more involved in our activity, we are doubling our own efforts in activism, fighting against war. In February, for example, we approved in Milan Declaration, and of course, over from GABV and FEBEA, we are including our position in this matter in the report. We are refusing once again this proposal to include defense as a sector that might be considered as social building or ESG. So we refused to include security, defense, sorry, in this since we are not including this S as a security link, meaning well, defense and weapons, we are of course against it. In the report, we are also highlighting the refusal to the privatization of the weapons sector, and since we are in a market economies, in order for the consumers to have the right to choose what they want to buy, we are demanding more transparency in financing the project so that all the people can choose which bank do they want to have, knowing, of course, if they are involved in weapons exporting. So this is part also of our activism towards peace building that we're including here. And the last part of our report has to do with social economy in Europe, and this is the part we have developed with Etica and social economy Europe. First of all, we are highlighting the situation of the ecosystem of social solidarity economy in Europe. For example, we have several data that are very interesting. We are acknowledging it more and more, and the Commissioner was also highlighting some of the landmarks that we have achieved in the past years. It's not only about raising awareness or acknowledging, but of course, of having more activities and more projects. It takes 7.2% of employment in Europe. For example, in Spain, agriculture is 3.6. Therefore, we can have an idea of the weight of the movement for social and solidarity economy in Spain. But of course, we need much more resources, and we need for it to grow. And thanks to this collaboration between Etica and the report, we are seeing that the relation between ethical banks and social economy is not only about social or ethical banks giving credits to social economy, but also our own governance systems, our own identity has a lot to do and to share with social economy, and we feel like a part of it. In this report, we have elaborated a report of 22 different entities that are part of FEBEA. And I'm seeing that almost all of them have some form of social economy or are part of other cooperatives. And at the end of the day, their governance systems and their identity share a lot with social economy. And this is our big strength, and this is what we need to put forward when we talk about sustainability with some specific projects. We are also working towards solidarity and towards sustainability in all of our activities, and also citizen participation. And at the end of the report, we are gathering some of the ideas that we are bringing from Social Economy Europe that we have also seen in the last term at European level. We are, well, just to sum it up, we are we need to reinforce the legal framework of social economy so that it can be in equal terms with traditional banking, and also we need to have the support of public institutions, something that, of course, we have a long way to go yet. Even though in the past year we have gotten more support, also from the EU, there are new instruments for the financing of social economy that are working very well, but we need more. We're also demanding a higher visibility on the sector, also a new perspective of the system, since social economy is not only an activity sector, but everything that we do is having an impact in all the sectors and public policies. Therefore, should support this ecosystem, and also from the EU, from the different members of the EU, and its countries should support it. And another remark and demand that we have is for the EU to foster different policies that would promote a social economy, knowing that social economy is not only an impact sector, but it goes beyond. we are an activity sector. We are a set of different entities, and we are able to involve the citizens in our activities. We also have a high weight in the country, so we have a lot to do and a high impact and high role in everything that has to do with different regional policies. And we are a whole. We are working in a holistic way, in this sense, the different policies that might go towards land cohesion and country cohesion, of course, something that we are working on also. And these are the main outcomes of the report. What we might say now is that we are finance entity with higher citizen participation, with very transparent governing systems. We are committed through 360 degree. This year we focus on a peace topic, but in other years we have focused on other topics, and all of these are focused, managed like we do, means a higher economic responsibility, and the fact that every day there are more and more citizens that are coming to us, ethical banks, not only from the environmental point of view, but also from the ethical point of view. And that's all. Thank you very much, Pedro. Thank you, Jordi. This report, as a journalist, personally, has a lot of impact for me due to the quantity of data that you provide and are taking away all of the ideas that we might have, journalists or maybe the general public. We can see different metrics of the system, a lot of data that are supporting that ethical banking is working for the well-being of the society. So with it, we have finished with the first part of our panel today, well, the first panel with the first part of our meeting. And now let's continue with the second panel. We shall start, well, it will be a round table. So it won't be a Banca Ética or FEBEA or the sector, but we will widen the approach, of course, always focusing on the report that we have just heard about. So I'm going to introduce our panelists. So I will sit here in the middle. So please sit in the following order. First of all, I will have Gelsomina Vigliotti, Vice President of the EIB. Please, if you would like to sit in the center of the stage. So European Investment Bank is, as you know, of course, is the big hope of many people, because they have a big budget to transform Europe, really. We also have with us Juan Antonio Pedreño, President from Social Economy Europe and CEPES. Thank you, Juan Antonio. He understood a long time ago that the battle of social economy already had to be put in Europe, as many others. And of course, we should have had Martin Rohner with us today, but from the Alliance for Bank and Value, it didn't make it, unfortunately. But we do have a bigger Vigliotti with us, the representative for GABV and Global Alliance for Banking with Values here with us. And we also have Pere Sasia from FEBEA, and we shall start this panel with Jordi's intervention. So with the President of Banca Ética, and Fasano, that will finish some conclusions also from the report. Good morning, everyone. Analyze, understand, and strengthen ethical finances in a social context, and also a political social context, such as the current one means to give hope and to provide new generations with the opportunity to have a future. The cutbacks of finances in green economy, the increase of inequalities and war propagation might lead us to think that we are very small to change things. But today we are here to say that this is not true. The European Union changed the entities this year, so Brussels is nowadays taking a decision which directions do they want to take, and it has an impact of almost 700,000 inhabitants, and they also decided on the pace that they want to do this. A future that from Banca, Ética, and the networks of ethical finances want to give an insight with the global sustainability. This holistic sustainability is being brought here throughout the business model of ethical banks that are very well represented in this report. It is also translated in the development and offering of innovative finance instruments in order to support people and economic activities that are respecting communities and ecosystems. With engagement activities, collaborations that are addressed towards operations and with concrete actions to change the traditional banking system. I think that is vital to continue insisting on the Green Deal and the Action Plan for Social Economy, which are vital policies for the collective futures that, if they are correctly financed and they are developed without ambiguities, with a social and inclusive approach, might transform Europe for the better and be an example for the rest. The climate and energy challenges presented as an urgent matter, and different territories of our member states are continuously being suffering from natural catastrophes, and we might remember, of course, the past event in Valencia almost a month ago. We need to continue supporting the decarbonization and the transition towards a green economy, and also social inequalities and job precariousness is increasing in many countries. Social services that should be guaranteed to the citizens are being impoverished. European social economies feels this need to address this issue and to find a powerful ally in public finances from the institutions and from the European finance institutions. Ethical finances are highlighting this message. The space for social economy that guarantees the care for people and their needs must be defended and extended. Even more when we are facing this war-like sphere or environment towards the privatization of primary services and to a higher privatization of financing. And both dynamics are cutting resources to peace, to health, public systems, and energy transition, and also environmental policies. Here, the question that we might ask ourselves is, what are the resources that we have to sustain this idea of development and for the finances that we want? Which is the Europe that we imagine? First of all, we need to be aware that we need to support each other in a complex situation with different leverages, both economic leverages and social. We cannot think about reaching the objectives of the 2030 agenda without working together with other stakeholders involving investors and other actors. Throughout the decision of the end of their savings, every person of the world, they can address or they can guide the work of the politicians, guiding the knowledge of some finances that are not for a short-term profits, that they are refusing weapons and fossil fuels. It's important. We can open an account in a banking. Ethical banking is not only an individual act, but a social, political, and institutional responsibility action. On the other hand, Europe and the planet that we imagine are an objective that needs a higher contribution from both public and private financing, and at all levels they can commit to go hand in hand towards common welfare objectives. Private financing represented here by actors of ethical finances can count on a huge support from public finances in a very good and efficient collaboration. Today, we need to continue creating bonds with those who are seeking a new and way of doing finances. So ethical finances are, of course, profitable, as we have just seen on the report. Our position is asking those who are actively working in the ethical banking movement need to define the perimeter of a fair and pacific society. They need to multiply the efforts in terms of lobby and advocacy to gather as many people as possible towards this new way of doing finances. So I'm very happy to hear about all of the people that are going to share their thoughts with us. We have three excellent panelists here. And the objective now is to create strong alliances and to work together. With the European Investment Bank, I think that it's important to reinforce the collaboration on the benefit of finance policies addressed to the most marginalized groups, support to a social economy and the transition towards a green energies. And also we need to use the resources of public finances that are very carefully given. Ethical banking and ethical finances needs to have support, and it can also be a huge support for implementing European policies. From social economy Europe and the huge sector of social economies in Europe, it is important to reflect on how ethical finances, cooperative finances, can and must be a multiplier for job inclusion, and also social and ethical finances are part of society, and they want to have a higher role to be a marking point in the development of Europe. Focusing, of course, on a long term where sustainability and the environment are also essential. The Global Alliance for Banking Values are a good travel companion. With them, we can continue working as we just did with the Declaration of Milan that we just mentioned. And also, ethical finances have declared the commitment to share significantly the financing of hydrocarbon business. Therefore, we hope that we might have a unique horizon for holistic sustainability, gathering all the needs of the citizens, of our citizens, and the different European entities and also private entities. With FEBEA, from our own experience, first of all in Italy and then in Spain, we have managed to be one voice with a huge weight here. So, President Sasia, thank you very much for this travel together. Thank you.
We're going to be handing the microphones each other. So thanks a lot. Anna Fasano has a approach the main issues of today. She was talking about with the means with which we're going to approach the challenges socially, environmentally, economically. The BEI, as I was saying, is a key element into this period. I would like you to tell us how do you expect to intervene along these lines, and what do you expect from ethical finance as a key triggering accelerator sector?
Cannot speak Spanish, so I'm really sorry that you have to listen to me in English. But anyway, no, thank you very much for inviting us to this event. To us, it's very important. I don't know. I guess that every one of you knows what the European Investment Bank is. It is the bank of the European Union. The shareholders of the bank are the 27 countries of the European Union. We are the financial arm of the Union. That means that we pursue the objectives of the European Union, and we provide, through our capital, all, the lending, which is the lending and the other financial instruments, which can be, useful and for the achievements of the objectives of the bank. We have two major horizontal objectives. One is climate, and the other is cohesion. The climate, actually after the Paris Agreement back in 2015, we were the first international financial institution to abide by the principles of the agreement. And so since then, we decided to comply with the Paris Agreement. We started with the roadmap, which was then established in 2018. And 2019, we decided, actually it was quite difficult decision also among the shareholders, to stop financing fossil fuels. And we set very strategic objectives in terms of climate. That is to achieve by 2025 50%, that the 50% of our activities should have been dedicated to climate action, and that by 2030 to mobilize 1 trillion euro for climate action. Actually, on the first objective, we are already there. Already last year, we, in our financing, we can prove that 50% of our activities are dedicated to climate, and that actually the way to achieve the objective for 2030, it's in reach. The other objective is cohesion. So we know that cohesion within the the European lexicon is something more than just ethical, but ethical is within the cohesion. The objective is to ensure that all the parts and the regions within the European Union have the ability, to play on a level playing field, so that everyone can have the same opportunity in terms of economic development. That means that sorry. That certain part of the Europe, sorry, that you need more support of what is necessary in the other. But this is a very beauty story. I don't think that this reassure you, but I hope that at least on the climate side you can appreciate our effort, which actually it has been very difficult also to be compliant during after the invasion of by Russia in Ukraine, at the time in which all Europe had it's a problem in accessing energy. And at that point, actually, there was a discussion about what can do in this situation when everyone is looking for energy. We decided to stay there because there are several ways in which you can help and support the energy system by pushing much more on the production on renewable energy, but more than that, also to support the economy for energy efficiency, because in the end, what is necessary is to reduce the need of energy, and so we invested a lot. We invested a lot in supporting the production of energy, renewable energy, in energy efficiency, and also in accelerating, research and technology, so that we know that renewable at this stage are not sufficient, to support all the needs, and also to accelerate the process so that this the use of electricity and renewable energy can be on a continuum. But let me back to the cohesion, that is maybe the argument which is more relevant to you. Cohesion means several things. It means financing infrastructures in less developed region. It means providing more finance to this region. We are a huge institution. Our volume of activity, yearly volume activity is around 90 billion per year. So it's an important amount of finance that we put into the European economy, and but we cannot achieve all the clients that we have through Europe and outside Europe. So we rely very much on financial intermediaries, since almost 1/4 of our clients are small and medium enterprises. We do not have the means to achieve directly these small, medium, and very often also micro enterprises, and we do it through financial intermediaries. We enter into relationship with them, we discuss what the objectives are, and in particular what are the terms that we can provide to the small and medium enterprises. Let me go back, sorry if I long.
Please.
But you talk about being a non-profit organization. Also, EIB is a non-profit organization in the sense that all the income that we can get, it's for maintaining the institution, but to provide the financial advantage that we have to our clients. We are a very solid bank. We are at AAA with a rating, very high rating. That means that we can go on the markets and raise resources to raise funds at very low cost. And so we provide this financial advantage to our client. That means that we can offer lending, guarantee, and other financial instruments, in particular to small and medium enterprises, at better terms than other commercial banks. And on top of that, obviously, we offer these lower prices because we want that some targets are achieved. So even more, we want that financial intermediaries accompany us towards this green transition, that support small and medium enterprises to go through this process. Now in Europe, there is this huge debate about competitiveness. No, it's all the Draghi report. It's about how Europe can increase competitiveness. That we need to have big champions to compete with other parts of the world. But there is a part of the Draghi report that sometimes it is not very much, publicized. That is that for Europe, what is important is also to keep and maintain that welfare state that make Europe different from other part of the world. That means that we have to work on cohesion, that we have to work on inclusion, and that also, we know that the climate transition, it won't be an easy journey. No? We know that for climate transition, there will be new skills which will be required. And so we have to be sure that we have an education system in place which will enable people, also to be involved in this climate transition with the right skills. So, the investments are huge, and the investments are not only, in providing competitiveness. I mean, to be competitive, we need a society which is also in our system, which are still democratic systems. We need also the participation on all the segments of the population. And in this regard, we try to dedicate part of our resources also to these projects and process that looks at the inclusion. I talked about small and medium enterprises, but actually one of our major clients are also governments. So we enter into participation with governments, with the local communities, local governments to ensure that the project can support the people. In particular, I want to mention, for instance, housing. We know how relevant now is the issue of housing, not only social housing, but affordable housing. It's not only now an issue which regards, the more marginalized people, but also, the regular people, they have this issue. So we have big project for supporting housing. Was reference to agriculture. We are also announcing a big project on agriculture to ensure that this primary sector of the economy will be able to, to cope with all the needs that we have. And obviously also the collaboration with those institutions like Banca Etica, that maybe I can go through that in the second part of this intervention, that there are the means also to support the more marginalized part of the society. Because, we cannot be, it's a well-developed region and a world if we do not have, it's an inclusion system which support also the less, less wealthy people to be part and to have the opportunity also to contribute to that.
Aparte volveremos pues a esta manera.
In the second part, we'll go back to this issue about how to collaborate. You said that the welfare state is one of the key features of Europe. Juan Antonio is an expert about this. Please explain to us your vision about whether this situation, which is the state of the welfare state in Europe, there are winds that hint to a certain backward movement, and how this welfare state can be related to ethical finance. Well, first of all, thank you for this invitation. It's such a pleasure. I would like to congratulate you for this excellent report that reflects a reality of a financial system, and it's linked to a firm model of which values we do totally share. We understand that Europe has to send messages to all countries if we want to strengthen social economy. In 2015, a little way back, there was no commentary in Europe about social economy. The first resolution in the Luxembourg conference with the minister, Nicolas Schmidt, then a commissar that identified the social economy as the key element for Europe. We are now witnessing that we are in a period of unanimous acknowledgement by different institutions and government of the social economy tenets, democratic governance, strengthening democratic systems in every country, working for social cohesion. That consensus we all have now has been reflected in both the OCDE about the social economy, also the World Labor Organization, and as the representative of the Ministry of Labor. This declaration by the UN, in which 175 countries with only one abstention, there is a global acknowledgement of the value of this this model. I think that we cannot just sleep on our laurels because the declaration, the statement by President von der Leyen about the attribution of responsibilities for the different commissars, the social economy hasn't been assigned to any commissar. So we're working now for this to be taken in charge by some commissar in order to strengthen social economy. As Anna has just said, we have important policies, European Action Plan, recommendation, that's true, but we have to implement the written word. We have to display this written word. The European Action Plan quotes ethical banking in this regard, assigns 2.5 billion to this. Let's see how it is implemented. We need a commissar responsible for this responsibility of implementing it from the next December the 20th, which policies, which plans are going to develop the European plan for the strengthening of the European ecosystem of social economy. This has been for us the first point of reference, the first problem. Who is going to implement the policies to develop the European social economy? If not, we've been acknowledged, we've done a lot, but which is the next step? This is the first of the topics. So our great concern was which commissar is going to take this in charge. We can advance that Rosana Misatu, the European commissar responsible for digital jobs, after some conversation with us, she has asked for the and has expressed the will of coordinating this project. This is an important step, Commissar, assuming this consideration. Esteban Subornet, responsible for digital growth, has also committed himself to develop this and to go in coordination with the Romanian commissar. So DG Growth and DG Employment both have to be concerned by this and implementing and to implement these policies. Another commissar has assumed to work on this is Teresa Rivera for competitiveness and concurrence. She has committed herself to work along these lines. If this is confirmed, would be 3 vice presidents of the European Commission. This is a big step ahead, more meaningful weight than before. We only had Nicholas Schmidt with great difficulties to push this forward. Our second big concern is the maintenance on the intergroup on social economy at the European Parliament, because otherwise the only dialogue meeting place of all the stakeholders disappears. We are still concerned about this because today and yesterday and in the coming days, which political groups are going to support this. We need 3 political groups at the European Parliament to support the intergroup on social economy at the European Parliament. We have now 5 political groups, more than before last elections. Until the very last day, we only had 2 groups. The last day, we achieved the third. So we obtained this intergroup that exists since 1990. So at this point, we have 5 meaningful groups: Renew, Liberals, the Left, the Social Democrats and Popular Party, the Greens. But all of them have expressed the support of this intergroup, and with the signatures of several speakers. The fear of those winds coming from the far right, it doesn't seem that for this term they're going to have an important influence on the development of social economy policies. So this first fear, we don't have it now because we've seen that 5 political groups with an absolute majority have committed themselves to support this. if this is confirmed in the coming days, and the commissars aforementioned assume this will of implementing the action plan, will have, as Anna has just said, we have two key elements: the European Action Plan. I was gonna read a quote from the European Action Plan that says the goal of the Commission is to encourage the level of support for 29 about social economy. It says more. The European Action Plan, always more. These are the organizations that know the social economy and grant responsible and returnable investment. Ethical banking has been key about this. So there's a first acknowledgement of the ethical banking into the European Action Plan, but also you have this about recommendations, the second big element in order to consolidate everything we're working on. The recommendation that was passed on the European Spanish presidency by all European countries for social economy, unanimous decision, a strong reference about the need to fund this as a key to the development of the social economy, and they told the country members that they have 2 years to implement public policies in support of the social economy. So we have two key elements: a recommendation approved and passed by all ministries of labor, an European Action Plan that has to be implemented by the commissars in charge, and the policies we're working about now are key, and we agree with them. I would like to ask, something more about this.
To keep working in Europe towards social economy with Banca Ética. And from social economy, we have been doing this for a long time now. We are also working with FEBEA, but we are so public about this that we created a working group about financing inside of social economy. And it's formed by the different members of the organization, and is coordinated by FEBEA, by Daniel here. And I think it's vital, since from the organizations, we need to convey the different proposals to FEBEA to improve the financing of the markets, and also to foster working spaces and dialogue spaces where, from the institutions of social economy, we can have a dialogue with different stakeholders, and of course, taking advantage of the presence of the vice president of the EIB. We need to be able to explain to them, to the EIB, the added value of social economy. In order to do this, we need to go hand in hand with ethical banking, taxonomy, actions and priorities of the bank. So several criteria that we need to know about, so that we can have an access to the funds of the EIB. Because if not, if we do not have access to the funds, we are not able to continue working towards social economy as we would like to, and also we are not able to meet with the objectives of the European Action Plan. And Ibáñez precisely gave some data like 15 years ago, saying that we have 4.3 million companies in social economy in the EU. Without the UK, of course, without taking into account them. And so we're talking about 14 million people. And in Europe, we need to grow to elevate our scale, and to go from 6.5 that I was telling you about to 10%, and to be 22 million people. And we can achieve this. We can, since we have 13 or 14 people in Europe where social economy means between 0.5 to 2% only. Why? Because they have not developed public policies on social economy. They do not have a legal framework or rules, and it's very difficult to develop a business model social economy without all of this. So if we bring together the recommendation from the governments to their action plan, and they need to establish public policies in 2 years, and we work on this. It is very likely that we may be able to be 22 million people in 2030, so we have more million companies working social economy. Nowadays, we are 6.5%, and 3%, 3.6% is the agricultural sector, and the motor sector has the same percentage as social economy. So we really need to put this into value. So how do we work? How do you work more precisely on the Banca Ética? So here we have Ugo Bigeri, European representative of the Global Alliance for Banking with Value. So how do you work from ethical banking, and what's the difference between ethical banking and traditional banking? Me too. I shall speak in English, so you will have Spanish translation.
I think I can stress 4 points on that. And is the vision, the objectives, the organizational issues, and finally the relationship with society. And the first one is the let's say the vision. I think we can compare what is happening in the mainstream banking sector or in the European regulation, and there we have a definition of sustainable finance product. So we're focused on product. Well, the vision of the ethical finance of the bank with values is to be focused on the world finance. So just to be coherent and realize sustainable finance institutions, sustainable finance bank, which are completely coherent, and in every activity they perform in all their portfolio, they are trying to do their best on sustainability and social and environmental issues. It's a huge difference because, of course, you are focused on everything regarding the work of banking instead of just looking at one product. The second point is on the objectives of the economic activity, the purpose. Ethical banks, they have a purpose. They want to achieve positive results in terms of social and environmental impact, and they achieve these objectives with two main way of working. Well, the first one, again, I think it's very useful to pick something from the European regulation on sustainable finance. One of the key points on that is do not significantly harm. So don't, well, it's self-explaining, no? Don't do too bad on some issues. Well, this is very well rooted in the ethical banks because also Jordi stressed it. We have exclusion criteria, so you don't invest in a lot of sectors which are profitable, but you decide not to invest there. And we have already heard about the weapon industry, but for instance, the Global Alliance is promoting international treaty, which is a campaign for a treaty, which is the fossil fuel, for the abolition of the fossil fuel extraction. Right? So the idea is that we have to exclude to finance oil extraction. So, and this is something quite strong, but it's going in this direction. But another good example is that these banks are focused not just on do not significantly harm, but also on doing positive in the real economy. And so almost all these banks, they use very few of derivatives and speculative finance because they are focused on real economy. And well, this is also something which is not so clear at the European level in the regulation because nowadays you can do a fully and perfect sustainable finance product using a lot of derivatives and investing very few in the real economy, which is a little bit contradictory with the fact that sustainability has really to do with the real life and not with the financial market. But so this is one of the objectives. The other one, as it's obvious, is to choose where to finance, what to finance in by the impact, social and environmental impact that you want to achieve. And so all these banks, in sometimes quite different way, but the final point is the same, they are all measuring or trying to measure the impact. So if I would say one thing that is common to all the banks is that they measure what they do. They could do it qualitatively, they could do quantitative, they could do a mixed way, but they do it. And it's quite relevant because it's not typical from the other bank that they measure everything they do in all their portfolio, or even looking who are the partner they work with. So they try not to avoid to have partners that are not coherent with the mission of the banks. Then there is the organizational issues, and on our experiences, maybe the one which is a little bit more neglected, but it's very, very significant. It's not just about taking some statement or some pledge in how you have to work for the future of the sustainability, but you organize the bank in a way that they respond to the ideal goals. So you have normally governance issues where you study also how and you manage the impact, how you measure the impact. I don't know. I know very well Banca Etica. Banca Etica has this impact appetite framework where they want to see quarterly if the goals, the goal in impact goals are achieved or not. Exactly as you do with risk appetite framework in the traditional banking activities. So you have in the procedures, in organizational procedures, which are typical from banking, that has been studied to be a sustainable or ethical banks. And this has also to do with the internal control system. If you finance something that is not allowed by your principle, it has to pop up somewhere when you in your dashboard when you are managing the bank, which is something which could seem obvious, but it's not. It's not, because normally the banks they just have the alerts come out if you don't have the good tier one, but not if you are not achieving your objective on the percentage of your portfolio, which is, I don't know, in social housing, which is normally you look after, but the banks look during the year. So all these organizational issues, I think, are quite significant. And so yes, again, in the sustainable finance product, you spend a lot of time defining, for instance, the results you want to achieve, but you work a lot on a single product, but not on the overall activity of your finance institution. And so nowadays, I think there is really a point of contrast between the fact that you can have a very, very good also mainstream bank which are financing oil as a major activities, that they have a very wonderful sustainable product fund or investment tool in renewable energy, and they leverage on this to make advertising on how they are good. But if you look at their portfolio, it's just something percent of their activities. So it's just ideal relationship. It's really things see dedicated to environmental. And finally, the fourth point is about the relationship with the society, and all the banks that are in the FEBEA or the Global Alliance for Banking on Values, they are rooted with a good relationship with their customers, which are not just customers. They are people who believe they are really committed with the way the bank is working. Well, they are happy, or they challenge the bank to answer to a very simple question: what does my money do in the night? So, where are my savings? How do you use my savings? And this is very significant because this it's the traditional banking system very often see all these activities from the ethical bank as expensive or time consuming. But on the other hand, you have a very much more stable and good relationship with your customers, and this is a market advantage that the ethical banks they have. And I think it's quite important to realize that there is also some advantage because people want to have different banking, and well, the values-based bank, they are not so big, they are not so many, but normally the customers of these banks, they're very happy, which is quite significant. So I think these are the main four differences.
Si os parece,
So should we do a second round, maybe a briefer one, if possible, and we shall change the order of intervention. So Juan Antonio, we shall start with you now. You're always insisting on putting the strength of social economy at the force. But there is a problem with actions in financing. And people should not think that social economy is there, that they are this strong and they need financing, but they do. So what should we do to increase the financing of social economy? What are the stakeholders that we might reach to end with this financing gap? Well, as I was mentioning before, I think that there is an agreement, a general agreement, that the access to financing is a key factor to develop social economy. We really need financing in order to develop it. We have mentioned before that social economy we mentioned before, which is taxing. So taxing might be a brake or a catalyzer to the development of social economy. We need financing, of course, but sometimes we don't have the proper instruments in order to cater this financing to our organizations. So I'm going to quote a declaration from the recommendation of the government's social economy has the aim to create a better society, but the resources are limited. That is why sometimes we are not as interested as other activities or other entities. And therefore we need entities that understand that there is a huge improving margin to improve this financing, and that is where Banca Ética and Ethical Bank can appears to improve financing access. Ethical banking are in line with their values, and with our own values, with the principles of social economy, not only about innovation of our environment, but they are able to say, okay, so this project here exists and it is positive and I'm going to finance it. When I was preparing my intervention today, I was thinking about my beginnings of my cooperative. When we started, nobody, not a single one finance entity supported us. Only one public entity the Industrial Credit Bank, I'm talking about so many years ago now, a public entity that supported that project. It was interesting for them, and they decided to support it aside from the resource. So I think that nowadays we also have different possibilities. And I'm going to share this with you. I found it quite interesting. In the report, we're talking about custom credit, and it says the organizations of ethical finances are personalizing their credit strategies to favor specific needs of social economy. When understanding all of the needs of social economy, they manage to provide the exact amounts of credit for each company thanks to a finance analysis that they provide that is allowing the support to support some firms or companies that might not be solid. And sometimes not all of our projects are going to provide us with high dividends. We need to understand the project, and that is important. You told us to be brief. I think I'm not being brief, but the first improvement that we should do here is to held this kind of events so that everybody can know about the work of ethical banking and how this kind of reports, as the one that we are introducing here today, is favoring the visibilization of social economy of ethical banking so that the wider public can know about our projects. So this is the social value that I was mentioning before when I was talking about the EIB and the fact that they need to know what we are doing. And Fiare also, last year, they talked about the needs of financing for the companies of social economy. And in the report that they published last year, there's a lot of information about many data that are interesting on this matter. And these kind of events, as I just said, are very important to share our work. And also, there's something that's going on in Spain that is important and crucial now. How we can have access to the funds that governments are provided. So impact funds, next generation funds, and so on. Here in Spain, COFIDES, they had 400 million to develop in policies for impact funds, and one of the main lines of action is created by social economy companies. So Fiare, a representative at CEPES, therefore the entity, is the one that is having a dialogue with COFIDES to draw this initiative so that these funds might reach to the companies of the social economy. This is vital since all of the funds come from next generation, but it might be used for a long time. So we have 400 million here that might be implemented and used in social economy companies. And finally, of course, Europe. So how the entities of social economy at European level can work together with also private sector and public sector. So in the European plan, we have a financing part that might need to reach the companies since we are lacking this instrument. Let's see how we can reach social economic companies. I think that what we're doing here, the different activities that we are developing and the dissemination of information, acknowledging of your work for ethical bankers is vital to bring the high number of financing to this model.
Before I was listening to you explaining what ethical banking was all about. I was enthusiastic. I'm a partner of ethical banking, but when you are at the multilateral bodies funding, the criteria on the basis of which you are received are not so wonderful. Maybe they don't give a damn about it. How do you integrate yourselves into the multilateral banking programs, which is key for the financing of the sector?
In fact, it's not so easy. I mean, and I think there is also some critical point on the ethical banks. Just to stress some of these very different kind of governance. Some are cooperatives, some are listed, some are companies. So different way to raise capital and to different tools that you can use. Most of the banks are quite little in comparison with the market. And so there is not so much appetite for a traditional investor to invest in this kind of banks. And then maybe, but this is where I think we are working on this in the right direction. But we should also say that since a few years ago, all these banks, they were not so well connected with the others. So because they were all born because of some root in the citizen movements, and so they were looking more to their customers than to have a connection with other international similar activities. So so far there are some examples. Banca Etica with the European Investment Bank is one, but there are also some other banks that already realized some projects. But I think we can do more, and I think there to do more. There are I see two things. One is internal. I mean, we have to understand that if the market remains like they are, and I don't think they will change, we need to work more together. As we, it's ethical banking is a little bit, I would say, a little bit protected because we work in a niche, and but still we need to have some scaling up, so to increase in efficiency, and I think this could be achieved if we more collaborate one with the others, and so we have to try to coordinate more. And I see it goes slow, but I see that in FEBEA, I know that there are a lot of also application for common projects, and I think it will come more and more the collaboration. The second one, yes, you say that, you stress that sometimes the rules are not fitted for ethical banks, and I would say they're not at all fitted for ethical banks because, again, we have to think that the regulator, they focus on product, while these banks are focused on the whole activities, and so then it's sometimes not so easy to fit to find the right crossing between the two different point of view, and but we have to recover the fact that if you support a bank which is working completely in social economy and positive environmental impact, you are accelerating a lot this kind of economy, and so I think some effort could be done also from the institutional side to recognize that doing banking in a completely different way, but totally committed to social and environmental impact, maybe it worth a little bit more of investment and thinking how to support this kind of banks. So I think it would be positive if we can collaborate more with the international bodies, and I think it will come. On the other hand, it was good that since so far we don't need all these banks, they work without any kind of support by any institution, so they're quite safe and sound, I would say. So they're in good, strong financial position. And this is also a good point to see, okay, maybe we could work more with the institution, but not because otherwise we are not able to work, but just because so we can accelerate more what we are already doing. And I think this is an important point. We don't really need help from the European Bank of Investment. But of course, if we manage to work together, we boost what we are doing, and we can do much, much better for Europe.
This has been already pointed out. Then this has been the main topic of this second round. So I would like to listen to you about this, how to collaborate more, also taking into account that there is a common ground as far as goals of eco-social economy and the challenges ahead.
What has just been said, what I like to say is what is the role of the finance, for instance, coming from the European Investment Bank? We like to be a catalyzer. Our presence, we never finance 100% of a project. We never enter into a partnership at 100%. So, we generally participate at 50% because what we want to do is to catalyze other resources to allow, for instance, private investors to come in. So, and taking, for instance, the experience that we have with Banca Etica. Let me start from, I think that one aspect of the report that I appreciated very much, it was to look at the financial indicators of this group of banks. And why it's important? It's important because we all know that after the financial crisis back in 2010, 2012, actually there was a big emphasis by the regulators on the financial soundness of banks to avoid that, the crisis of the past that in the end they impact on ordinary people. So, it's sound banking, it's important. It's important that actually it's very good to see how the organization of this bank allow also even if with the different governance, with the different principles, it allows to be very sound also in terms of financial indicators. And I have also some oversight outside of the European Union. And one thing that strikes me is the indicator of the non-performing loans. On microfinance with ethical banks, this number is always low. Why it's low? Because first on the capacity of the bank, the organization of the bank, to look at the client, to engage with them, and to ensure that they will pay back their loan. And I think that this is a feature of the macro credit enterprises, ethical banks, which is very good, and this testify also the way in which the governance system of this organization is good. But obviously, Banca Etica, it's something is a bank. It's a bank, and actually also to us we have actually we use the resources of our taxpayers, so we have also responsibility on the way in which we use these resources. And so, while entering into a partnership with institutions like Banca Etica, obviously we look also at the financial indicators, we look at their system of governance. We agree on the objective that we think are, they are similar to the us. Actually, we try to be similar to the ones by Banca Etica, and we enter into a partnership which can take different forms. And actually, today I'd like to talk about two types of partnership. The first is with a loan. We provided a loan to the bank is a 60 million euro, and actually, what was important is that through our resources, Banca Etica was able to provide finance to the clients for 160 million, So actually what we entered into, it was a partnership in order also to multiply the number of clients. And then Christina is here from the European Investment Fund. The European Investment Fund is a branch of the EIB group, which is dedicated to finance small and medium enterprises, not only with guarantees, but also, for instance, in investing in funds, in supporting startup. And we know also how relevant is the participation in terms of equity in the social enterprises, the micro social enterprises which want to develop, social programs. But EIF, the European Investment Fund, agreed with Banca Etica for a guarantee product amounting to 165 million, and this can help generate loans by the bank about 200 million. Why? This type of instruments, like for instance the guarantees, the securitization, financial instruments that in the past have been, also sometimes criminalized because they have been used for speculative purposes and goals, but actually they can be used for good. For good, like for instance, because this type of instruments like the guarantee, in technical terms, it was a link sharing instrument, but in the end, it's a guarantee on a portfolio of loans by the bank. Actually, it's a guarantee which allow the institution to free up part of its capital, because we know that by regulation, banks, they should have some capitals. On the basis of this capital, they can use part of it, they have reserve, etc. With an institutions like the IB, on top of providing a loan, we can provide a guarantee so that the institution has the ability to multiply its impact. And I think that it's not only the European Investment Bank. Maybe in Europe we are the largest organization doing things like that. But I think around the world, also the international organization, they are providing this type of instrument, and it's something which is really necessary, because in the end. I think that also by using public money, public resources, what is important is to use these resources in the most efficient way. So that, for instance, it's not necessary, for instance, to provide a loan for the whole amount, but maybe providing a guarantee which allows some institutions which do not have sufficient capital to do more. We can use less of the European resources to do more with the resources of the bank, because as I said, these institutions are institutions that they have they have their public, they are their contributors, but definitely, our role is that to multiply and to do more. But also let me emphasize that on top of working with the institution well established like Banca Etica, we work also with the system of microcredit institutions. Even more look into the social finance. We know that there is, for instance, fund who invest in social enterprises, and we are looking at that. We have a dedicated team like the Christina team that are looking for this type of initiative to invest also those part of the resources which are within the European budget. So this is a collaboration. Obviously, also our role, the role of the team is to be within the countries, and but we are obviously open to collaborate and to look, good initiative, because as I said today, the social economy, it's something which is very important. To have a good and vibrant European economy, we should be able to provide opportunities to everyone. The momentum, it's not maybe the most positive. Around the world, how many wars are around, how also the political system are becoming very polarized. But in this sense, I think that the presence of a multilateral institution is also relevant to ensure that we can provide the support where and how it's necessary.
Gracias, Ana. No sé si
Thank you, Anna. I don't know whether you want to say something. Thank you. So we are gonna wrap up this report with Pere Sasia, the president of the Banca Ética Foundation. Thank you, Pere. Just brief conclusions. This is my task. Nothing new. Just underlining some things. The homogeneity in the messages means a lot. Already, I'm going to start with a little anecdote. It has to do some patience. A few weeks ago, there was an international congress about ethics and AI. After the intervention of one person that told us about the ethical risks of using generative AI, there was a person in the audience that intervened and said, but this should not only be rhetoric like ethical banking. Two lessons out of that intervention. First is that ignorance is still very bold, even if you are a logics professor, which was the case. Juan Antonio has said that is something evident. What's going on today, here, now? At least 4 things are happening, and a fifth one is not happening. I'm going to take these 5 minutes. First is that we're telling a story. This is not a snapshot report. Our snapshot, you see numbers from last year. This report has its value because it's the 7th. It's been done by 2 firms and 2 organizations of ethical banking with recommendations, and they show development about evolution about many issues. It started in 2017. This is the 7th issue and will go on. What does it teach us? Some philosophers talk about genealogies. It shows where do we come from, which was the purpose, and this helps understanding ethical banking beyond the snapshot that conveys a message. It is a consolidated, sound, eligible model by consumers, individuals, organizations, institutions that do consume responsibly financial products. It is the second conclusion. It is eligible. The quality of our financial structure, we don't want to become best-in-class, highly profitable, because for that you need shortcuts, certain realms of fandom, for instance, games and bets and so on. We don't want to go into that. Like the report, the Milan report said already this, even if the numbers were still, it would be a great sector. There are other sectors that are more profitable, but we are eligible because there are people who want them to become always more, institutions, firms, organizations that seek for not only economic profitability for their money, and to choose whenever they choose the financial institution they want to work with. Beyond that, we have expertise. This is a big issue. You know that ethical finance, in some sectors, they are leaders, financial leaders in some sectors. they have more impact. They have muscle, volume, more than traditional banking because they are sectors that are lazy for other institutions. They request expertise, a certain attention, but then the consequence is, as Nicholas Schmidt was saying, the former Commissar for Labor and Social Issues, at the anniversary of FEBEA, he told us, we need you. There is lots of money with a political level for some destination, and there are no intermediate institutions that don't want to work with that. They are niche products out of the market. We've listened from several sectors, arguments putting ethical banking into question because of this, but they are given prestige institutions like the general directions that put value in the importance of these intermediaries. It's not just that we take the money, we multiplied it. The deposits we have are meant to work on these sectors. So sectors like historically for a long time, renewable energies, everybody wants to be there, but recovered firms, eco-housing are sectors in which the path breakers and those who keep the expertise are the ethical banking institutions. We have governance models that explain a lot. Take a look at governance. Some of us think that is the genuine issue about ethical finance, not the red lines. What's ethical banking all about? When the Methodists say don't invest on that. No, the key issue is governance, not just there is a good observation in the report about the governance, but it's not just that. It's dynamics that allow the institutions to relate to the context. The governance models in ethical finance explain a lot of things. They explain why we have the capacity to overcome this issue of super profitability because the shareholders are not looking at the GS dividend in order to invest or de-invest. We don't have those kind of people. They justify the sectors.
Since we are built on this with sectors, it explains also our link to territories. Well, ethical finances, they should be working towards justice. But how do you know what a justice challenge is? If you are taking decisions from central office in I don't know which building from I don't know which city, the reality that might be even more real every day, which are the real justice challenges? You do not know. Our governance model is explaining our relation with territories, how many financial institutions grew with an inspiration of ethical financing and maintain also our purpose. It also explains our governance model, the different analysis that we might or might not have, with this which context. Third conclusion, we have talked about it a lot on the sixth report, proposal and critics. We are doing both things since we have the legitimacy to do it thanks to our work. When we are criticizing something, we do it before, okay, we should not do this because we can do this like that. And that is why historically we have also criticized many of the sectors. We can talk about combating or working against all of the washings, greenwashing or whitewashing, it will depend on the interests of the market or of the color that we might want to paint a bank with. Even the European Union has said that they might need to create a directive regarding greenwashing. So it is important. Also, social taxonomy. I was about to have it, but then elections came again. Not only climate change, not only carbon footprint, there are a lot of things. Also, unweaponed finances, mail declaration, same size. It's not same size for everything. We have specific rules and regulations for different topics. Integrality, sustainability approach. Please do not tell me about your green project. In the last 10 years, the biggest systemic banks all over the world have lent 5 billion euros to carbon bombs, refineries, and oil extraction. So do not pay yourself green. It is important to draw some red lines. And last conclusion, isomorphism between social ethics and social economy and ethical economy, ethical banking. Client provider. We have a good relation with them, so we want to strengthen social economy as a financial instrument that might be addressed to society. But Juan Antonio has explained it very well. Social economy, and ethical finance have some things to do together, quite a lot, I might say. For example, we can develop a common agenda for political advocacy on regulation, on the consumption model of the citizenship, because people still prefer to receive some gifts from their traditional banks. So facing this, we need to challenge this to change this consumption pattern. Also, we have a common commitment. We have some social bases that are the same for both of us. Ethical finances adore two different realities of social economy from the dissemination activity that ethical finances can do. I really didn't like this comment about rhetorics and ethical banking, so I wanted to finish with this quote. These kind of interventions, these kind of events are dismantling empty rhetorics, not only persuasion art, but empty dialogues, or to be, for example, to pay extremely high salaries in order to attract talent. It's not true. So you have very good professionals and you don't pay that much. Well, because you don't need to. You can live with a 1 to 5 ratio, which is a ratio for the FEBEA entities. I'm not sure that there are risk sectors, not banking sectors, that we cannot go to. If there is a good social impact, if there are needs to meet, we go there. We do not have a non-banking risk sector. We go there, we try to go there, and sometimes, many times, we are successful. It's not true that participation is hindering governance. It's not true that transparency is challenging reputation. And all of these anti-rhetorics are being dismantled by facts. And maybe the last of them, most important, it's not true that investors and shareholders only want short-term profits. Not ours, at least. So it is difficult, of course, to grow on social capital as a social economy. But what about prosperity without growing, as Tim Jackson said, or as we said, ethical finances and prosperity? Well, maybe without growing, but at least with a solid and eligible model. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Pedro. So this was the end of the analysis for the report. So now please come back to your seats. Thank you very much for our panelists from our roundtable. So now, last but not least, we have some very last words from Carlos Ascunce, President for Ethical Finances Foundation. Thank you. I will be brief since we want to go to have something to eat and to drink. So first of all, from Banca Ética Group, thank you very much. All of you who made this event possible, all of the workers from and employees from the group and its different structures, both in Italy and Spain. You have done a great work organizing this event here today. Of course, thank you very much for the Surveyors Foundation for providing us with this space to hold our meeting. Arola, Jordi, Gelsomina, Juan Antonio, Hugo, Anna, and Pedro, thank you very much, because you have not only been here today to disseminate about ethical finances, but you are creating a narrative and some arguments that we need. We don't only need practical issues, but we need narratives and transformative narratives with the facts and with everything that you just said today. Thank you very much to all of you attending our event today. Many known faces from Banca Ética Group, from different foundations, all of you. Thank you very much. Mainly those of you coming from far away. You've been very generous with us. And thank you very much for the people from the associative tissue of the bank, the different organizations from social economy, solidarity economy, ethical assurances, renewable energy, some other ethical bank that I can see here, some representatives I can see here. Thank you very much, as you are the reflection of what we are and what we aspire to be. In these times, sometimes dark times with bot and fake news, it's a pleasure to hear that in Europe and all over the world we have as many organizations and people linked to economic, ethical, with an ethical and alternative side. It's not only possible, it is also a tangible reality. We have a financing ecosystem that, as a main objective, has the welfare of its people and sustainability of the planet. A system that, as we can see in the report, has one objective: to create a higher impact, positive impact on the environment, on society, in which there are always more companies and people, more organizations of the third sector, and of course more public institutions. Today, we have been able to witness the need of strengthening the relation between ethical finance, economy, social economy, public institutions, and civil society. When these relations do exist, when they are enhanced, we are able to create fairer and more equitable and inclusive relations. It is true that challenging the growing of inequalities, the proliferation of genocides and wars, such as in Palestine, we need to undertake deep social, cultural, and all types of transformations. But from ethical finance, we want to accompany all these transformations. We are doing this, and we will keep doing this, since our world needs finances that solve problems, and mainly because we urgently need that ethics are the main reference, so that finances and all the economy and also politics are working towards the well-being of the society and a good living and welfare for all. And just a month ago, on 26th of October in Cali, in Colombia, we knew about the International Covenant on Life. It's a call upon the citizenship and the social society organizations to face the challenges of a fairer and more equitable transformation of the world. Among the different proposals that are included in this document is the one that we have talked about today here, a covenant, an agreement towards the democratization of solidarity, credit, and the inclusion of finances for all. Developing this agreement at European and global level is our work, where in a very humble way, we can also provide some help. So we hope that for next year, with the 8th report, we might be able to make more progress in this sense and to be near the objective that we all have for the economy that we all want to have and the life that we all want to achieve. Thank you. And now, of course, we can continue building all these relations and all of these narratives on the 4th floor. So we're on the 2nd floor. Let's go to the 4th one and let's share a nice moment together. Thank you very much.